Good morning and welcome back to Recovering from Scientology. I am trying Restream for the first time, so let me know how this is going. I'm going to double check and make sure that this is working because it doesn't seem to be on my side yet. Oh, still not working yet. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. So I hit go live. Oh, good. Okay, it's working. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So today is International C-PTSD Awareness Day. It's the second ever, and I wanted to celebrate it and bring some attention to the topic since it's something that a lot of us who are recovering from abusive situations or cults or certain family dynamics we suffer with. And I just wanted to go into a little bit of it today. Thank you for being with me. And yeah, so let's start by talking about the difference between PTSD and CPTSD. So PTSD occurs from a singular trauma. CPTSD occurs when there's prolonged exposure to trauma in an environment where the victim perceives there's no escape. So it fits really well into the category of people who were raised in high control organizations or cults like Scientology. Um, I know quite a few people who suffer from CPTSD, and although it is very common and it's talked about a lot, there's actually not a DSM 5 diagnosis for it at the moment. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, pull up some information from one of my favorite pages, and it has awesome resources. It's from Healing. The Healing and CPTSD Foundation. I follow their Instagram. They have some great stuff. So here's the timeline. 1988, Judith Herman coins the term complex PTSD. Dr. Judith Herman introduces the concept of complex PTSD, identifying it as a distinct trauma condition caused by prolonged, repeated abuse, especially in childhood or situations of captivity. She argues that traditional PTSD diagnoses fail to address emotional dysregulation, identity disturbance, and relational damage experienced by long-term trauma survivors. That was in 1988. In 1992, CPTSD was proposed for the DSM-4 and rejected. Dr. Judith Herman formally proposed a CPTSD for inclusion. She proposes CPTSD for inclusion in the DSM-5 or 4. The proposal is rejected. Instead, the APA adds disorders of extreme stress not otherwise specified, or DESNOS, to the appendix, acknowledging the symptoms but without formal status. In 2013, the DSM-5 was released, and there was still no CPTSD diagnosis. Despite advances in trauma research and survivor advocacy, CPTSD is excluded again in the DSM-5. PTSD criteria are expanded, but complex trauma remains unacknowledged, leading to decades of misdiagnosis and invalidation for survivors. The DSM-5 text revision came out in 2022, and no, CPTSD was not included. That is the one that we are currently using, the revised DSM-5. In 2018, the World Health Organization includes complex PTSD in the ICD-11, which is awesome because that's a lot of times how insurance bills for things is based off of the ICD-11 instead of the DSM-5. The global diagnostic manual used by most countries outside the US. CPTSD is defined as distinct from PTSD, with additional symptoms including emotional dysregulation, negative self-concept, disturbances in relationships, and others. Despite this global recognition, the DSM continues to exclude CPTSD, leaving US providers untrained and survivors unsupported. 2020 launched the CPTSD Foundation. Awareness Day was created to bring visibility to the lived experience of CPTSD survivors. Founded by Athena Peterson, September 2nd serves as a powerful reminder of the need for recognition, understanding, and trauma-informed support for those impacted by prolonged, repeated relational trauma. This day honors the resilience of survivors and advocates in support of a group and advocates in support of a global shift in how PTSD is seen, understood, and treated. So in 2024, we had the first official CPTSD Awareness Month, launched by the Healing and CPTSD Foundation. It marked the first ever Awareness Month, increasing visibility and sparking global dialogue. Throughout September, the foundation leads media campaigns, hosts community events, and shares powerful survivor stories. Now, in 2024, the APA, the American Psychological Association, publishes the official APA guide for working with adults with complex trauma histories. In the very first section, the guidelines explicitly state that individuals may be assessed for both PTSD and complex PTSD. This is a major moment. It marks the first time that the APA formally acknowledges CPTSD by its name in its national treatment standards, validating it as a distinct clinical reality. So we are at a point where they have formed now a CPTSD Alliance, which is a coalition of survivors, professionals, and advocates who are advocating for systemic change. Alongside it, the first CPTSD census was conducted. It's actually still going on, I believe, and if you feel like you are in this category, you can go and fill out the census to help with this. This month, the Awareness Month, the Healing and CPTSD Foundation is offering free awareness kits, a petition, a census, joining the Alliance to help support the mission, and they even have some merch. So that's something that I definitely support. It's very well known what CPTSD is in the healing community, and especially since the ICD-11 edition, but it doesn't seem to be, because of the lack of official diagnosis in the DSM-5, I guess, it's not taught. It's, for whatever reason, I feel like people are more educated on this in their continuing education credits, or if they want to specialize in PTSD and CPTSD. So I also wanted to read something that I found really, really powerful yesterday. And this month is National Suicide Awareness Month, which is super important. And more people should talk about it, reduce the stigma. There's been a lot of craziness going on in this world lately, and it feels almost moot sometimes to talk about our own personal traumas that we've been through when there's so much hardship going on around us. But it's important for us, especially if you are a helper or in the helping field, to provide just general self-care for your emotions, to feel things, to discuss them, and know that you're not alone with them, because it can feel very lonely. All right, so I wanted to read you this wonderful thing written by a random person named Villacorto1 on Reddit. And it was listed to the PTSD subreddit that I follow. And sometimes there's a lot of good community there. And then sometimes it's also just really depressing. It's hard when you're part of a community like that where people have been traumatized. You don't know. You have to feel good enough to lift other people up sometimes if you want to look at that kind of stuff, I feel. So they wrote, if you grew up in an environment where your feelings were dismissed, minimized, or met with disapproval, you probably learned early on that your emotions were a problem to be managed, not signals to be understood. Yes, if you happen to have grown up in Scientology or any other mind control cult, most likely your feelings were not emotional signals to your body. They were things to be shoved down so that your face of a warrior and champion could come on. Maybe you were told to stop being dramatic, get over it, or be strong before you even knew how to put your feelings into words. Or maybe it was quieter than that, ignoring you when you were upset, or a sigh when you were excited, the withdrawal of warmth when you expressed something they didn't want to hear. Oh man. Oh, hi, Mrs. J. Hi, Lupita. Thank you for being here this morning. The withdrawal of warmth when you express something they didn't want to hear. Basically, your whole childhood, the emotional energy was never met correctly, and unconsciously it started to feel deliberate. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. That doesn't matter anymore. When this happens repeatedly, a child learns that expressing emotions jeopardizes connection and safety. And because children depend entirely on their caregivers, they adapt. They push their emotions down. They pretend they are fine when they are not. They learn and begin to mimic their caregiver's emotional energy because then they get affection. So they start focusing on pleasing others, smoothing tension, and avoiding conflict. Man, this is so dangerous when you're raised in a cult, especially like Scientology that has such um, destructive emotional policies. Um, a lot of children who grew up in Scientology were told, stop acting banky, stop acting Casey, meaning you were acting like your reactive mind. If you showed emotion that is not above 2.0 on their emotional tone scale, meaning if you're not happy, excited, uh, enjoy, you're angry or sad, you're low on the tone scale. And that is not okay. It's just not okay. This is one of the main things that I think is the biggest harm to the children is really disassociating from the body and the instant signals of fear and fight or flight, and all of these things are just reconfigured, and you present a very strong face because it's survival, and a lot of us did adapt that way. Over time, this adaptation becomes part of who they are. After focusing on pleasing others, smoothing tensions, and avoiding conflict, many grow into adults who are now chronic people pleasers, not because they enjoy self sacrifice, but because their earliest experience wired them to believe that meeting others' needs first is the only way to stay safe. The problem is that this adaptation does not just disappear in adulthood, it becomes the default operating system. You keep overriding your feelings in order to function. You say yes when you want to say no. You keep showing up for others while ignoring the signals from your own body. You tell yourself to push through when you are exhausted, stressed, or unwell. If you were ever in this org, I'm sure you're extremely conditioned for this. And I wasn't in the Sea Org, and I was conditioned for this. So I can only imagine the intensity of that. Over time, this creates the perfect conditions for burnout. Burnout is not simply about doing too much. It is about doing too much without emotional support, without the ability to rest, and without permission from yourself to be human. When you've spent your life overriding discomfort to maintain peace or avoid disapproval, you miss the early warning signs your body tries to send you. Fatigue becomes the norm. Tension in your body becomes invisible. Stress piles up quietly until the system collapses. The more burnt out a survivor becomes, the more people pleasing and emotion suppressing they often become. This is not weakness or passivity, it is the nervous system in survival mode. When resources run low and exhaustion takes over, the system defaults to the safest strategy it knows: avoid conflict at all costs. Suppress discomfort to keep the peace. Preserve energy by not risking confrontation. In other words, the exact behaviors that led to the burnout in the first place are reinforced because in the moment they feel like the safest way to survive. This is also why many people with trauma histories seem fine until something big happens. It's not that one event caused the collapse. It is that collapse was years in the making, built from thousands of moments where you told yourself you were fine and you weren't. As strange as it sounds, when the burnout crash finally happens, it can be a turning point. For some, it is the first time in their body that their body forces them to stop. It is the first undeniable proof that they cannot keep living this way and that they have been. Burnout, while painful and disorienting, can become the only condition that creates enough pause for change. It can strip away the illusion of control and force a survivor to confront the cost of their self-abandonment. That pause can be the doorway to a different life, one where rest, boundaries, and emotional truth are no longer optional. So that's been a really big challenge. I don't know about you guys if you're also survivors, but actually resting, man, allowing my body to rest, a new life where I have my own boundaries, where I feel if if I feel tired, I try to make accommodations for myself that day to not have that many responsibilities, and that's new to me for sure. You get tremors from stress? Yeah, that's sounds about right to me. I've had stress tremors as well. So healing begins when you relearn that your emotions are not the enemy. They are information. They're the body's way of saying something needs attention. Boundaries, rest, and self-care are not indulgences. They are maintenance for the system you live in every single day. If you were taught to override your feelings to keep the peace, it is not your fault you burned out. You were trained to ignore the very signals that were meant to protect you. The work now is to rebuild trust with yourself, to listen when you are tired, to pause when you feel dread, to take discomfort seriously before it turns into collapse. And for some of us who were raised in cults, it is so hard to associate after you've been disassociated from those feelings for so long. It really takes a lot of effort and grounding. And I found that like yoga and meditation and things that are meant to make you feel like you're in your body are really helpful. But it is really hard because I felt like I was out of touch with my body for a really, really long time. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I hope that if you ever feel alone, you can come back and just listen to this. I like to listen to things when I'm in the bath and just makes me feel better sometimes. Your nervous system is not trying to sabotage you. It is trying to protect you the only way it knows how. The more you listen to it, the more it learns that safety is not found in self-abandonment. It is found in self-connection. Thanks for reading and God bless you. I thought that that was absolutely beautiful. I thought that that was just so nice from another survivor, and I wanted to share it on this International CPTSD Awareness Day. Another thing I wanted to talk about was this really cool book that I have, and I'm not sponsored by it. I get no affiliate commission or anything like that, but it's just something I've been working on personally. It's the Complex PTSD Workbook, a mind-body approach to regaining emotional control and becoming whole. And it's just something that I've been drawing information from. And when I have the time, I have 10 minutes or 15 minutes to just go in and jot down some thoughts and just try to process things. Because, yeah, a lot of us can recognize that we have conditions, but then what do we do about it? You know, I'm getting a master's degree trying to understand how to heal CPTSD. And I'm working with veterans right now who suffer from trauma and PTSD. CPTSD is going to be a very interesting and upcoming topic and field once it becomes a diagnosis. And there's plenty of research being done. So this book has some tips I'm going to share with you guys. Yeah, good. I'm glad. So some symptoms, how PTSD affects the mind and body. Cognitive distortions. These include inaccurate beliefs about oneself, others, and the world. So that, oh man. Yeah. That's the reason why a lot of people take their lives is cognitive distortions and inaccurate beliefs. Emotional distress. Frequent feelings of being overwhelmed, anxiety, helpless, hopelessness, despair, deep loneliness, shame, unfairness, injustice, and depression and suicidal thoughts are often triggered by social loss, abandonment, and disconnection. And that can be twofold if you're coming out of an environment where you're excommunicated, like I was, where you're disconnected, you're dealing with loss of a community as well. And yeah. Disturbing somatic sensations. Historical threats are maintained as uncomfortable body sensations or somatization, in which psychological distress presents in the form of physical symptoms. Now, we all have seen our friends who have gotten sick with this undiagnosed or they don't know what it is, but it's an immune system disorder. Their body is now attacking itself. I just have a lot of friends where they've either have Lyme disease or Hashimoto's or something that is from this trauma. And it's why I started studying all of it to begin with. I didn't realize that stress causes disease and stress causes everything bad in your body to go wrong. So when we're dealing with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, this is real and this can take your life or save your life when the way that you treat it. Disorientation. Inaccurate beliefs, emotions, and body sensations contribute to a loss of distinction between the past and the present. Hypervigilance. High sensitivity to tracking nuances and subtleties in body language and facial expressions within other people is developed as an attempt to keep one's self safe. Oh man, hypervigilance. I definitely have this. It's gotten a lot better, but Scientology does you no favors if you're being fair gamed and actually stalked and harassed by their private investigators. Your hypervigilance is probably already really good. And then there's actual things happening. So your head is just on swivel all the time. But there is something that I notice about a lot of friends I have that are trauma survivors is that whenever we walk into a room and we get to choose like wherever we sit, someone with hypervigilance will always sit in a corner where they can see what's going on. And I tend to do that a lot. I'll just pick the corner of the room so that I get, a really good view. My back's not to anybody. And the last one is avoidance. Avoidance involves learned patterns of shutting out or pushing away uncomfortable sensations, memories, or emotions. This is often maintained by defenses such as denial, repression, disassociation, or addictive behaviors. Yikes. And I think that's where a lot, at least in my experience, that's where a lot of ex-Scientologists live and don't want to deal with it. People who you guys don't know, people who are out there in the world living their life and just don't want to talk about it and just pretend like nothing ever happened. And I get it for some because it's a security thing, and for some they think that they might even lose their family just talking about it. But if you can't ever process it, that's dangerous for your health. Yeah. Hello, Tim Greenglass. I have something fun to show you behind me. Oops. That's for you. The annotated Alice, his family member, was part of that, I believe. So anyway, back to CPTSD. Other symptoms of CPTSD. Feelings of irritability, self-harm and self-injury, such as cutting one's own skin or pulling hair out, eating disorders such as binge eating, bulimia, and anorexia, emotional eating, social anxiety, agoraphobia, or paranoia, difficulty concentrating, impulsivity or recklessness, excessive risk-taking and promiscuity, outbursts of anger, suicidal thoughts, plans, or attempts, addiction, and difficulty maintaining a job. They can also deal with interpersonal problems, brain development issues. Abuse and neglect produce measurable changes in brain structures that are associated with deficits in social skills and academic success, and health problems. And unresolved CPTSD is a significant cause of physical health concerns in adulthood. Yeah. Yeah, reprogramming is so hard. Glad to see you smiling again. Thank you. It is so hard, and some days are easier than others, for sure. I'm going to do another video. I hope you guys all join me about a health diagnosis that I received recently. Because it's important to talk about things and let them be out in the open. And when cults and groups like Scientology are still continuing to ruin people's health, lives, mental health, social interactions, wealth, businesses, it's important that we actually talk about it and expose it. And I don't know if you guys are aware of what happened with Mikaela Reigns, who was that animal rescuer, but it was so impactful to me because I've done animal rescue for the past 11 years, dog rescue specifically. But I watched her final YouTube video, and I suggest that you guys do if you have a chance, because she's so in a very specific up close situation where I believe she had been being trolled by people online, which I've been through as well. And it can feel like, oh, everybody's saying it, or everybody thinks this, or, it's just one person, but it's becoming bigger and bigger in your head because I don't know why, but it seems like Mikaela suffered from some bullying in her inner circle. And this woman saved so many animals' lives, and she had an organization where she was in charge of fundraising. And I really related to what she said about um, not every moment that she's not spending fundraising feels like a weight on her back, like she could be raising more money for the animals. And she said that her time with the animals became limited because she was just worried about creating content all the time so she could get donations so she could save more animals. And I was in charge of social media for a rescue for over a decade. And I completely felt the same way sometimes. It kind of grosses me out how you have to structure stories so that people will donate and you will be able to help. But it has to come in a format that people are ready to accept. And it has to be like packaged and has to be on TikTok just the right way and with this hashtag. And it becomes really time consuming when all you're trying to do is literally help. For me, in my case, I was trying to get dogs homes and get dogs off the street and raise money for dogs who needed surgery. And it almost is like you have to play that fake social media game of um, setting out a timeline of how you're going to fundraise for an animal because there's all these things at play. Whereas you can't just go see a dog, take a picture, and say, hey, we want to rescue this dog. No, like, is the dog, do we have a foster lined up where the dog can go decompress and not get another dog sick if they're coming from a situation where, like in a county shelter, they usually have kennel cough? Do we have money for vet bills if we get this dog out? Do we have a long-term foster who's willing to take this dog? And you know what? We can't actually post this until we know that we're going to take the dog, because if this dog gets euthanized before we get there, that's really tragic and we can't post about that. So there's all sorts of things that go into play about fundraising. And Mikaela was such a beautiful soul. And it really was a mirror into how can we support people like this, especially animal rescuers. Animal rescuers are facing so much death, so much cruelty. I've fostered so many different medical cases. I once had a dog who had acid poured on his face as a puppy, and I just checked on him. He's still doing great. He's 13 years old now. So I guess that's how long I've been doing dog rescue. Um, but it can be rough, and the world is very cruel, and a lot of us burn out and we're pouring from cups that we don't have anything in because we don't understand why nobody else is pouring, and it feels like it's your job. I'm sure that that's what she felt like towards the end. It's what she kind of expressed in her videos. So if you haven't heard of it or her, it's a very telling and sad story about just how PTSD, C-PTSD, and mental health issues can go under everybody's nose. And people just want to see happy content, and they just want to laugh, or they just want to talk about Shelly Miscavige and where's Shelly and is she here? Is she not? Oh, now we're going to do this PR thing. And it's like, I get it. We have to do that to bring attention to things sometimes and the cause. And you got to get good at TikTok and stuff. I just made an account. I made an Instagram too. So if you guys want to follow, it's Recovering from Scientology. But this kind of stuff takes time too. And most of the time I really like it because it's something that I'm passionate about. But maintaining that balance between what you want to do as essentially volunteer work, or how do you want to spend your time, especially when you're going through trauma, complex trauma. So sometimes you guys will see me, sometimes you won't. I'm also in grad school right now, which is a time I'm learning in everybody's life where you don't really get to see your friends all that much, because you're so busy studying and doing internships and things like that. So, hi guys. Thank you for coming by today on this International CPTSD Recognition Day. So I do want to talk about a little bit about stress response because I think it's important, and the physical symptoms that go along with unresolved trauma. So there's 3 types of basic stress response. One is positive stress response, second is tolerable stress response, and the third is toxic stress response. So some stress is good. We need a little bit of stress. We need the stress of exercise on our body. Positive stress response, a healthy stress response is one that is temporary and resolves itself with a positive connection to loving caregivers. Examples of healthy stressors during childhood include adapting to a new childcare provider or brief and tolerable separations from the primary caregiver. Healthy stress actually tones the nervous system to cope with stressful situations encountered in adulthood. Tolerable stress, here you may face a significant single incident trauma as a child, such as a fire or the death of a loved one. However, if you have a supportive environment with loving caregivers who help you process your experience, such an event is actually associated with development of positive coping skills in adulthood. So that's post-traumatic growth. Toxic stress response. In this case, profound or ongoing traumatic events take place without support from loving adults. These situations are associated with a negative outcome on emotional and physical health in adulthood. An example of ongoing traumatic event would be getting auditing as a child, sitting with the cans and discussing past lives, or however, when you're knowing that you cannot leave the room unless you come up with something. When you know all the adults are part of something, part of the cult, your safety measures become very different, and your adaptability to danger becomes next level. I think that's why a lot of us are attracted to these kind of risky situations afterwards. So, health problems associated with chronic stress include high blood pressure, blood sugar imbalances, food cravings, addictions, sluggish digestion, suppressed immunity, digestive disturbances, sleep disturbances, and autoimmune disorders. Womp womp. So that's all the really stupid stuff about CPTSD that a lot of people deal with. Things that help, that have been proven to help. Hi, Amber. Things that have been proven to help. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Exposure therapy. Cognitive processing therapy. All forms of CBT explore any inaccurate beliefs that you may hold. Common negative beliefs include I am unlovable, I am unimportant, I am unworthy, I do not deserve to exist, I don't belong, I am helpless or powerless, I cannot trust anyone, I did something wrong. And then here's the stuff we gotta tell ourselves. I am lovable, I am important, I am worthy, I survived, I belong, I am strong. It is safe to love and trust now. I can learn from my past. Also, what helps, and those were all types of CBT. DBT really helps. That's dialectical behavioral therapy. That includes mindfulness, emotion regulation, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, having like you can learn sometimes assertiveness. I've taken a couple courses on assertiveness. I don't know if it's helped that much, but maybe it has. Another thing that's really popular is EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I've done this. I know a couple people who have done this. And it's really cool. They have studies to back it up. I've heard some former Scientologists mention that they don't like it because it feels like auditing to them. But it's not. So I'm able to tell the difference and it's okay. Worked for me pretty well. And group therapy offers a lot of support, and it's nice when people can feel like they're not alone in these conditions. Now, there's somatic theories, like somatic awareness. So it's becoming curious about body sensations, which I think is really helpful when you've been disassociated from emotions or your body sensations. And then grounding techniques, and that applies to just your ability to feel grounded on this earth, feet on the floor, feel your energy, feel that you are here in this body, and you're not just flying all over the place. So this channel is going to definitely explore a lot more about CPTSD in the future. I just wanted to definitely support this day, bring awareness, bring up some resources that you might enjoy, like this book, like the Healing from CPTSD Instagram, and maybe you guys will get some comfort from this if you're going through some of the symptoms that I experience, because it's a real pain in the ass, and intrusive thoughts are hard to battle, you know? So continuing to stay social and build community and bring awareness to topics like this and how people around you can help is important, I believe. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys soon. Please make sure that you're subscribed and that you are notified when new videos come up. Hit that like button, and I'll see you soon.